Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jan Ślewiński. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk is in the Netherlands to attend Victory Day celebrations alongside his Dutch counterpart. At the main ceremony in Wageningen, Tusk delivered the keynote address of today's celebrations. Now, during his visit to the Netherlands, Tusk will meet with Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof. Following the ceremony, the two officials will travel to Oosterbeek, where delegations from both countries will hold discussions. Then, Prime Minister Tusk will travel to Amsterdam, where he will attend a yearly concert hosted by the Dutch royal couple. The final point of Tusk's agenda involves an evening boat tour upon invitation of King Wilhelm Alexander. Romanians voted in the first round of presidential elections on Sunday, a rerun of the failed attempt to elect president in December last year. With voter turnout exceeding 50%, the country saw a tight battle between four contenders. Our correspondent in Bucharest, Paweł Trzaskowski, has more.
All is clear in Bucharest on Monday morning, with the official vote count in the first round of presidential elections in the country already concluded. And it will be George Simeon and Nicu Jordan in the second round of the presidential elections on May the 18th. George Simeon, who emerges victorious in the first round after receiving 40% of the votes in the final count. When the exit polls results were revealed, he was given about 30%, but this result did not account for the votes of Romanian diaspora that voted predominantly for Simeon. Please listen to what Simeon had to say upon learning the results of the exit polls.
I will surely remain committed to the one who should rightfully occupy the seat of president, the man in whom millions of you hoped. I speak here in front of the Romanian people. I will respect my word, because Romania needs his wisdom and vision, and because I don't want the power for myself. I am here for all of us to return the constitutional order.
George Simeon is the leader of the right-wing Our party. He took part in the 2024 failed elections, however, with little success. But over these 5 months, he consolidated the votes of Romanian right. He got support from Călin Georgescu, the sole reason why the previous elections were cancelled. He also got support from Mateusz Morawiecki, the former Prime Minister of the Polish right-wing Law and Justice Party. And now he is going to face, in the second round of presidential elections, Nicu Jordan, a mayor of Bucharest who ran as an independent. However, yesterday, when the exit polls results were revealed, it was still inconclusive whether Nicu Jordan will make it to the second round. Please listen what he had to say upon learning the results.
We should wait the final results of the vote, which will come soon. And I would like to thank in advance to the representatives of all parties that are now inside the voting sections. And I would like to ask them to assure a correct counting from this moment, because we speak about the trust of the Romanians and our partners within the Romanian democracy. And in my opinion, this is a new beginning, and we hold responsibility for it.
Eventually, Nicu Jordan defeated Crin Antonescu by slim margin, less than 1%. Crin Antonescu, a veteran Romanian politician who returned from his political retirement to run as a candidate backed by the current governing coalition of Social Democrats and Liberals. And this result, Nicu Jordan in the second round beating Antonescu, might be interpreted as a voice of protests of Romanian voters against the current governing coalition. The main question remains now whether Antonescu will support one of the candidates in the presidential runoff and therefore transfer his votes to one of them. From Bucharest, Romania, for TVP World, I'm Paweł Trzaskowski.
Romanian voters reacted following the conclusion of the first round of 2025 presidential election. Some said they expected far-right Eurosceptic candidate George Simeon to secure the victory, while others placed their hopes on the runoff.
We expected the person who got first place to win, but the second place was uncertain. So probably, if it's what the people wanted, that's what happened. Most likely, the second round will also be who the people have wanted as well.
It was obvious who would get first place because a lot of votes were taken from Mr. Georgescu. I don't think it's a surprise for anyone that Simeon got first place. It was expected that Crin Antonescu would not get second spot, not because of who he is as a person, but rather the ideology behind him and the National Liberal Party. Romanians are fed up with what happened over the past 10 years with a president from this party, and this is why he lost, not because of who he is.
I'm glad Nicu Sordan got into the race. That's the first conclusion for me. The second one is that the existing coalition in the government should take a step back. A big one. Third, we have to fight hard during the second round. That's for sure.
It all depends on the second phase of the election. This kind of thing happened in the past. I mean, one candidate to get 40% and in the second phase to lose the election. So the people should come and express their vote, and I'm confident that everything will be okay.
Moving on now to the latest update on the Ukraine peace process. When asked if he was going to meet Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia, US President Donald Trump said he didn't know, although he did say he would be leaving for the country shortly. The American president also claimed that the US delegation had meaningful conversations about Russia and Ukraine during the past few days.
I don't know, we haven't thought about it, but we'll be leaving for Saudi Arabia pretty soon. I have not thought about it. We've had some good conversations on Russia and Ukraine over the weekend, over the last few days actually, but we've had some very good conversations on Russia and Ukraine. There's a lot of hatred there, I will tell you, between the two parties and between even the generals. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of hatred, but we've had some very good discussions over the last few days.
Ukraine's military said on Monday that the country was attacked overnight by 116 Russian drones and 2 ballistic missiles. Russian forces targeted the northeastern Sumy and eastern Donetsk regions with a series of strikes. The country's air force says it shot down 42 drones. Local media report that the 2 Iskander missiles used against the Sumy region were launched from Russia's neighboring Kursk region. The mayor of Konotop in the Sumy region said local infrastructure had been damaged in a wave of attacks. He confirmed there were no initial casualties or injuries. In a recent post on X, European Commissioner for Defence and Space, Andrius Kubilius, called on EU member states to increase their military support for war-torn Ukraine. In his opinion, the move would be a more convincing argument for Vladimir Putin to put a stop to the war.
If Putin isn't convinced by Trump to make peace, we could bring forward more convincing arguments for peace very quickly, by greatly increasing our military support to Ukraine. Until now, the EU and US provided around €40 billion a year of military aid to Ukraine. But we can spend that same amount procuring modern weapons in Ukraine, which would cost about half as much as those made in the EU or US. This would effectively double the volume of weapons Ukraine receives for the same €40 billion. Our support's real value would rise to €80 billion. New safe loans backed by the EU provide member states exactly this possibility, to use the loans for scaling up military support to Ukraine. That's how the formula peace through strength can truly work in practice. Safe loans mean strength for Ukraine.
In his major interview since clinching a coalition deal, Germany's Friedrich Merz says he will head to Paris and Warsaw right after taking office on the 8th of May. The goal? To present a united European front before engaging with Donald Trump. In an interview with the Bild newspaper, published on Sunday, Merz said it was important for Berlin to work together very well, very quickly with the French government and to collaborate on a par with Poland. He therefore announced that, as Chancellor, he would travel first to Paris and his next stop would be Warsaw. He emphasized that he will not travel to Washington until he has secured a common stance with France, Poland, the EU Commission and even the United Kingdom. He also took a firmer line on Ukraine, saying a country at war cannot join NATO or the European Union, dampening Kiev's hopes for a swift accession. US President Donald Trump has directed his government to reopen and expand the penitentiary complex on Alcatraz Island. According to Trump, the redeveloped prison will house America's most ruthless and violent criminals. In a post on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump said that for far too long America has been plagued by violent and repeat criminal offenders. In the post, the president announced that he ordered the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to enlarge and reopen Alcatraz Penitentiary. This move, however, might prove to be both challenging and expensive. The prison was closed in 1963 due to deteriorating infrastructure, high costs of repairs and difficulties supplying the island facility by boat. And with this, we conclude this edition of TVP World News. Please stay with us here on TVP World. I'm Milan Szerewicki. Bye for now.